Good Shabbos and happy Hanukkah, dear community family. This week, beginning last night and today, we began the holiday of light. Light is the metaphor that best represents the Jewish people. We live by light. The Torah is light. Our objective is light, to be a light unto the nations. And we celebrate light. Light is the first creation by God. And God said, let there be light, even before there was the sun and the moon and the luminaries. Light is an essential power that by its natural being pushes away and transforms darkness to light itself. The presence of darkness cannot exist in the presence of light. And this week, we celebrate light. Hanukkah, not only the historic Hanukkah that took place more than 2,000 years ago, when the cruel Antiochus oppressed the Jewish people, came to destroy the Jewish culture, the Jewish identity, the Jewish way of life, starting with defaming and desanctifying, contaminating the temple and all of its vessels. And against them stood the minority. Even within our enemies, they had allies who believed in their right way, Jews who had Hellenized, who had taken on that Greek Hellenistic perspective. There was great division among the Jews. And yet, we had a miracle in the practical sense. We won the war. A small, you might say untrained, very weakly armed military force that was made out of scholars and civilians and Jews that dedicated their lives against the mighty forces of Antiochus. And we were able to overcome them. Like the history of the Jewish people, we always are able to look our enemy in the eye and to go beyond them and over them, not against them, on top of them. We are always victorious because we go with truth. And just as like at that time, they found a single little carafe of oil, which was the spiritual miracle, oil that represents the highest form of pure light. And as a result, we're able to resume the holy service of the temple. One little carafe of oil disrupted the entire philosophical system of the mighty Greek Syrian thought process. We were very successful at that time and celebrate today. As you can imagine, among the destruction of the temple, had taken all the very, very expensive vessels out of the temple. The Jewish people were in ruins, and that little light made a glow that lit up the entire world. You might say the same thing is happening today, as our brothers and sisters are lighting the light of holiness, the light of the Jew, the light of God in the darkest space. As you see the singular lone soldier standing in front of his one candle and surrounded by destruction and potential murderers. And you see that light flicker, and the soldier standing fully garbed with his military clothing and his armaments. His eyes are closed. And when he makes that blessing, blessed are you, God, King of the universe, that you have shown us miracles and wonders in those days until today. And we see that little light. It flashes across our screens, lights up our lives, gives us hope, gives us the idea of who we are as Jews. Even in the darkest spaces, we do not delve into darkness. We do what is necessary to rid the world of darkness. But within the essence of each of us, there burns this bright light of holiness, this godly soul that each of us have. And that is the light that lights up the world eventually and gets rid of all the darkness. And today's Torah portion is the same. We read the same. After Jacob fights with his brothers, with his brother who wants to kill him, ready to fight with him, and he passes him by. He doesn't conquer him. After he goes against Laban, his father-in-law wants to kill him, and he is successful. And suddenly he comes back to Israel. One opportunity, back at home. He deserved to be at rest, coming back home after all his trials and tribulations of life. And suddenly he's disturbed with the worst calamity of his life, where brothers hated another brother. And as a result of that, worse than the worst enemies, worse than the Esav enemy at that time, worse than the Laban enemy, because them he was able to overcome. But when brothers hate brothers, it ended up in the worst exile of our history, the exile of Egypt, and all of the continuing exiles until our present exile. But God promised us that we are the light, and the light does not get extinguished ever. And so when we light our Hanukkah candles and bring to bear those extraordinary heroes, the Maccabees of today, that are lighting the candles in the darkness of the world, we know that Almighty God will allow us to fulfill our mission to be a light unto the nations, to come to a moment of total peace, tranquility, when our soldiers will come home, when all of our hostages will come home, and we will wait and welcome the coming of Mashiach immediately.